I had the ultimate blueprint by watching my family. I was the youngest kid. So the youngest kid has the total advantage. You know, you may get picked on, you may get bullied with everybody, but you sit back and exactly what you said. I sat back and watched my dad. Definitely don't want to do that. My mom, my brother, whoever it may be. I sat back and I paid attention to everything around me. And it was the ultimate blueprint to how to live life. How not to live life is I watched people do, and I said, I don't want to be like that. I know where you are. I know where, because I've been there. That's why I help so many people out. I've never been above you. I've always pretty much been beneath you, and that's where my knowledge came from. So I know how to reach those people who are in the dungeon because I've been there so many times. I call it part-time savage. I started kind of going through this. I started getting, a little bit injuries, a little bit of this, a little bit, things that back in the day never slowed me down. When I got my head out of my ass and realized that, hey, we have more left, we can still push harder, we're not there yet. I realized, talking to a guy named Cameron Haynes, who did this race, 240-mile race. And is this the new level? Is this the new push? So when I decided to do that race, it was in the back of my mind like, man, I've really become an expert at running 100-mile races. So for me, this was the new level, the 200-plus mile race. And what was so amazing about that, as you probably read in the book, I had a hard time the first time doing it. I came back and did better. But what's amazing about the human mind is that it becomes your new norm. Like to think that I can run 200 miles, 240 miles, and that becomes like running 50. I never thought that was possible. This is why I'm always pushing that limit, because I know that within pushing these limits, there's always more. So I end up doing almost like back-to-back 200-mile runs. When the 200-mile race, 240-mile race was hard at once, it became something that was very easy after I figured it out. All those miles I've run on this thing, it's been a lot of it's been a lot of gut checks, because when you get to 70 miles of a race and you felt the way I did, to me, it was humanly impossible to even think about going 30 more miles in that shape. And once you do it, what came over me when that shower hit me, and the reality hit that I just went 101 miles. And that last 31 miles was something that I can't even describe to people. And she's like, we gotta get you to the hospital. So at the time, my mom was seeing this doctor, and he was like, so she's describing to my mom what I'm going through. He's like, you gotta get in the hospital now. And I just said, just shut up and let me enjoy this pain. I don't want anything to numb it. I don't want anything right now. Because what I had done was in my mind, and people will take this wrong and take it as wrong as you want to, I don't really care. I had just climbed a mental wall that was amazing. And I didn't want anybody to take that pain away from me at that point, because that was all confirmation. I never wanted to feel it again. But what it did was it showed me what is possible. And that's what set the new stage for me. That's when I realized, oh man, I've really been underachieving my entire life. I'm not saying that you have to go to that place. That place is a dangerous, dangerous place that you don't want to go there. But it taught me what is possible. So from that 19-hour lesson, one of the biggest lessons I had in my life, it taught me that, okay, I got it, check. As you get bigger, as you get more successful, you open the door for people to critique everything you do. And most of the people who are critiquing you usually aren't where you are. And all their critiquing comes from people who are really at a low level of life, which is sad. But what we do, people who are on the upper level, hearing the haters at the lower level, like I said, you'll never meet a hater doing better than you. True statement. I started having fun with it. So I'll go through the comments. While most people don't go through comments, I go through them intentionally, look for the bad ones. And while I'll block and delete you because the people on my page don't need that negative energy, I'll block and delete you, but I take a snapshot on my phone and I put it in the archive. So what happens is there's days where I'm like, you know what? I really don't want to do this today. And I'm like, oh, hang on. So I started making these mixtapes with all of these hate messages about people talking shit. And it became such a source of fuel that it was amazing, because I know why you hate me. You hate me because you're probably in the bed right now. You're probably an underachiever. You're probably somebody who doesn't want to do anything with your life. So I make you question everything about yourself. So I'm going to continue making you question yourself by coming out here and being even more successful. So I listen to that while I run. I sometimes play it in the house, and it sometimes gets on Jennifer's nerves because I'm sitting and listening to somebody talk mad shit on a loop about me. And she's like, why do you do this shit? It's half comical and it's half inspiring. I'm actually inspired by it. People don't understand. This wasn't like a part-time job. Man, when you've done without, like Kobe Bryant, when Kobe retired that last game, he had like 60 points, walked off the court. He didn't cry. He said, oh my God, I'm gonna miss the sport. He walked off. He gave everything he could. Man, when you give what I've given everything. People make, oh, you ran off up knees, you taped your feet up, you did blah, blah. You had 2 heart surgeries, you kept on going, which makes me who I am. We all look for toughness. We all want it, but we look for it in a comfortable environment. You will not find toughness in a comfortable environment. Yep, sure did. I had somewhere to go. I got there. And buddy, when motherfuckers tell you can take a break now, yeah, you're f***ed up. As long as my knees are halfway worked, I got to run. You telling me, man, maybe a chance I can't run no more? Give me an excuse and not do it. But as long as I have no excuse, I got to do it. I was happy where I was. I gave everything. I gave everything to who I am. And that's why people, I don't believe that. Don't believe it. I gave everything. You have no regret. People didn't understand me. People don't understand me now. I don't give up. I know exactly what I was doing. I'm not a masochist. I'm not crazy. I'm not this and that. People try to title me and label me. No, I had something can do. It's like our minds are like a garage. And the garage, if you open a garage and it's all cluttered up, you can't put your car in there. You got boats and you got kids' toys and shit everywhere. But if you organize that garage and you put everything in its rightful spot, you can pull that car in there. You can put 2 cars in there. You can put bikes in there. And that's like with the mind. People talk about discipline, determination, repetitions, and all this shit. Consistency. David Goggins is an introverted, soft kid that got beat up growing up and had to lie to create friends, to get friends, to be accepted. My life has really been about 2 people. I had to invent a whole nother human being to get outside of my comfort zone. And that human being became Goggins. It took a while to get to that point where enough was enough. And I had to make a change in my life. You know, I was at an all-time low and I wasn't going anywhere. And I was exactly what everybody said I was going to be, which was nothing. So I had to make a change. Goggins is like the guy that walks out of the phone booth. He's like that Superman that walks out of the phone booth. It's kind of strange how sometimes I have a conversation between David Goggins, and Goggins will tell David Goggins about this he's done. And David Goggins like, what the hell, man? Why are you doing that? That's nuts. It's kind of this battle between trying to find more of yourself, knowing that the real you is afraid, likes comfort, likes living in a world that likes to pat you on the back, give you the things that you want to hear, not the things that you have to hear to get better. That's where all this kind of started from. And when people hear this podcast, they're going to definitely want to put a title on me to make themselves feel better. Basically, what you're doing is you're giving yourself a get out of jail free card. So all you're doing is saying, this guy was some super freak. He found some super thing in his brain that was locked up. He unleashed it and became this guy. Because every day I wake up, I dread the day. I dread the day of what I'm going to bring on myself to get better. It happened when I could never get over the hump. I kept on feeling like I was getting over the hump. And then one little windstorm, small little windstorm would come by and push me back to scratch. It's like, why? Why am I not, I'm learning how to read now. I was a junior in high school and couldn't read that well, a fourth grade reading level, because I would cheat on everything. And I learned how to read, I learned how to write. I taught myself all these things, all these disciplines. But whenever the first real big challenge would come, that little windstorm would push me back in the hole. And I realized, man, I'm fixing stuff on a surface level. I'm all surface, man. I'm not going deep into the cellar of my mind and fixing the foundation of my soul. My soul is broken. But, I knew I could fix it, but I was afraid to go back. I was afraid to face the demons of my life, because you start lying. You want anybody knowing this about you. So you start lying about who you're not and start creating a person about who you want to be, but that's not who you are. So that's when I started realizing, man, I'm never going to get over the hurdle. I'm always going to live on a surface level until I go deep into the sewer of my mind to figure out and face all of these different demons. That's hard. It's hard. We all like social media. We all like everybody to see us for who we want to be. That's why we post beautiful things about us. That's not going to fix you. The most important conversation you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. You wake up with it, you walk around with it, eventually you'll act on it. And my self-talk was the most disgusting self-talk of all time. So the sewer of my mind, like I said, you have to go back in there and fix things. A lot of us are afraid. Like right now, 20 years ago, you wouldn't have found me on this show. I was too embarrassed to tell you I stuttered, I lied, all these different things, getting beat up, getting bullied, whatever happened. But that's where the true transformation starts to happen. When you can look at people, anybody, thousands of people, one person, and say, hey, this is who I am. And this is where I have to fix myself. And this is where it really happened. People call me dumb. My dad called me so many things, it's not even funny. Being beat just stripped me of all self-esteem. This is when I realized I was alone on this earth. I have God alone on this earth, and I have to fix everything. So this is where I started to develop an indestructible mental toolbox. I looked in this one guy's eyes who was ringing the bell to quit, to put his helmet down out of Navy SEAL training, and I saw myself. And I saw what everybody said I was going to be, which was nothing. What I said I was going to be, that conversation you have, that's who I was. So that's why I lied to people to tell them a different version of the truth. I had to make all those lies reality. I had to make them real. I had to become a real person. So that's when I put in my mind that I'm going to go to the toughest military training on the planet, where it has the most water, the thing I was scared of the most. So a lot of us run away from our fears, and we box ourselves in to a lifestyle of this is all we can do. Because I'm afraid of everything outside this box. So I'm comfortable inside this box. I jumped the box. Everything I didn't want to do is what got me to where I'm at today. It's about what you're saying to yourself, but it also comes with work. So whenever I was getting beat down, physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever I was going through, just saying, you can't hurt me. I had this haunting voice in the back of my head. A lot of us have it. We just ignore it. And it was there for years. So I knew in the back of my mind that I could pull off this whatever I wanted. I knew I could. I knew that, but I was afraid of the work because I wasn't gifted with brains. I wasn't gifted with God-given talent as far as like athleticism. So I knew to get to where I had to go, to be on the same playing field as these men, to even try out for this program, I knew the work was going to be something that I didn't want to even attack. So I would just put it off. It haunted me. That's what I realized for myself was I wanted that comfort zone that everybody looks for, that pat on the back. They don't want to hear all the bad. They want to hear everything that they're doing right. And I realized that's what kept me in this world. That's what kept me in this world of not accomplishing anything. What I did was I became that big, bad, nasty that you don't want to walk into at nighttime. I became the roughest critic in the world on myself. And that's what changed me. I stopped caring about people. that what they thought, being judged, wow, if I say this, if I started right now, are you gonna make fun of me? I stopped caring about that. And that's when my life started really changing for me, slowly but surely. Or situations that have wronged me. Because once you've come to a place where you are really happy with who you are in life, no one f***s with you anymore. Even though they're f***ing with you,
it doesn't
f*** with you. What do you want in your life? We have so much influence coming at us that we are so lost. We don't know what we want to do because we don't spend enough time with ourselves. Greatness is whatever the hell you dreamed of in your own mind. You gotta first see it. You gotta first create this vision in your mind. Once you create this vision in your mind, it's how am I gonna get there? But you've got to go inside yourself to find it. And that means you gotta be quiet. Shut the fuck up, go in a room, stop talking, search your soul, search your mind, search your abilities, and you'll find it. But if you're not looking for it, you won't find it. So you gotta go start your journey. And the journey starts with you finding, why the hell am I here on this planet Earth? Why am I here? And if you don't know that, you will live the rest of your life searching, always asking the question, why? I'm waking up and I'm giving myself all this armor. So when I come out in the world, now look at that phone, I'm ready. I'm not waking up late. I'm not rushing around. I'm not disorganized because I know I'm gonna get hit in the mouth. There's an art to getting hit in the mouth. And that is why these things are important. You have to wake up and you have to give yourself belief. You have to give yourself confidence. So it starts with that run. Anywhere from about 1:30 to 2 hours, I run every day. So
you're fasted on the morning?
Yes.
Up, straight out?
Straight out.
90 minutes to 2 hours of running, back,
yep. Eat, and I'm in the gym. So, and then after that, to whatever's on the plan for the day. That's how that works every day.
That's your day. There is no room for anything else.
Yeah, there is a lot of room. So there's 24 hours, and I use it all pretty well. That's why I got a cap success, because I can't put that in, and that's my growth factor. So that's my human growth factor. And some of these motivational people out here, it's the funniest thing in the world to me. They'll go and say, when you wake up in the morning, pound your chest, look at yourself in the mirror, and do all this fucking bullshit. I hope it works. What works for me is that everyday resume, the things I know I've accomplished, the things I know I've done, real hard work, the real calluses on my mind, the real calluses on my hands. That's it. You don't need to pound your chest in the mirror anymore if you have that. A lot of it is limited horizons. Limited horizons are like, I use me as an example always. I came from a small town in Indiana where there was a handful of black families. And a lot of people in that town, when you come from a town of 8,000 people, it's like we had a local plant, Great Dane. And you're like, you know what? I want to work at Great Dane and get a house next to my mom. That's what you know. So many of us come from these small places in our mind that we're not willing to think outside of only what we've seen. Our mind works in such a small compartment. And one thing I was able to do was to dream. Many people, but don't make dreams your master. But I was able to dream outside those four walls of that small town. And until you're able to really put yourself into that dream, but don't make dreams your master, that's where you truly become what you're destined to become. A lot of people sit back and they dream about being a sports figure, or dream about being a SEAL, or dream about being an astronaut, and all it is a dream. They don't put the work behind the dream. That dream has become their master. When you become the master of your dream is when you say, I want to go be a Navy SEAL, and you say, okay, I'm going to lose 106 pounds in less than 3 months. The dream was the one thing I thought about, and the dream was now gone. Now, what comes in, the dream goes away, and the laundry list of details and tasks come up. Gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this. That's when you become the master of your dream. So, a lot of people out there dreaming. But guess what happens? That alarm clock goes off at 4 a.m. to train. We count on people too much to get us through shit. and we look to our right, we look to our left, we're looking for help. And if you can build that self, you can build that total accountability in oneself. And it's not about being selfish. I'm trying to create a better me. So hopefully people who are hearing this are taking it the right way, can say, I can run a mile. It ain't about running 205 miles. It doesn't matter. I want you to see how far you can go. The biggest trophy I own now is that book. The biggest trophy I own now is not the book itself, it's what's in the book. It's what, like, I don't give a fuck if that sells one copy. Honest to God, man. What I did, and that's what I hope people understand. Your life and the journey you put yourself through, there's nothing more than that. And that's all I want people to do, is realize that you have to struggle. You have to struggle. The bigger the struggle, the bigger the peace. The bigger the suffering, the more peace. So a lot of this isn't your fault, why you do some things you do, why you feel the way you feel. But no one's coming back to save your ass. You have to go back to where it started, wherever that place is for everybody, and have the courage to go back there and start fixing what broke you. And that's when I was like, hey, I'm fucked up. I'm gonna go back and fix this. And I know how to self-motivate. A lot of them don't know how to self-motivate, man. Like, we like to put the headphones on, like before the big game, and listen to the music. What the fuck do you do when the headphones come off, bro? It's you in your own mind. I know how to do that. That's the hard part, man.
Do you ever listen to music when you run?
Never. I wanted you to go home that night after you the living shit out of me, and I smiled in your face. I wanted you to feel worse than I did, and you were going home to a nice warm bed, and I was still out there in the grit, suffering for another 100 hours. I wanted you to think about me, knowing that I'm comfortable, being very unfucking comfortable. And I want you to think about when you went through, I'm afraid of this, I'm up here, life made me this way here, I stutter, I have these issues with reading and writing, and I'm fat and I'm insecure. We can't live like this. We can't live in fear. We can't live in judgment. We can't be afraid of what people right now are looking at me saying about me. We cannot be afraid of that. My reading, my learning, my workouts, my diet. You start neglecting all of that. You neglect one of them, you can neglect all of them a long time. It's gonna haunt you. When you start seeing that, my God, I haven't eaten right now, haven't been sleeping right a long time. It can only be one of those things to take you off. I'm very aware of my eating, my sleeping, my disciplines of life. And when I started to get too far away from them, it's a hard stop. And the only thing that gets me mad nowadays is that so many people die with untapped potential because they think that someone else is better than them. And they were born not with the greatest tools. You need the ability to grind your ass into a fine powder. And when you're in that fine powder, find a way to build that motherfucker back up repeatedly. And it's possible. I always fix the things on the surface. If I couldn't read and write, I learned to read and write. I would always fix these things on the surface level. And so whenever something hard would like raise its ugly head, I didn't have any kind of tools to handle it. I'm like, man, I thought I fixed this already, man. But no, I didn't go deep into the dungeon of my soul to say, okay, what is making you a quitter? What is making you a weak man? What is making you afraid? That's why I kept on quitting and going back to start, or not knowing how to get through hard times. And that's why I always tell people, I'm not a theorist. I didn't study, I didn't study a book. I literally put myself in a fire repeatedly like a sword. You put a sword in a fire repeatedly and repeatedly. If you keep on doing that, you're gonna get a nice sword. And then you keep on beating it. You gotta beat the shit out of it. And that's what I am. Yeah. I became that. I said, okay, we can't quit. We got to figure out what is wrong with you. What's going on here? So I kept on putting the sword back in the daggone fire, and I just beat it harder. And I beat it harder. Before I knew it, I started realizing, all right, man, the brain is starting to get hard. The brain is starting to get hard. The one thing that made me who I am today is being vulnerable. It's breaking myself down to the absolute rock bottom and being able to tell people who I am. And that's how I fixed it. Literally, look somebody in the eye and say, you know what, man, I have a whole bunch of character problems, character flaws. I've lied about this. I've cheated here. I'm insecure here. This isn't the real me. I lied to you about that. I wanted your acceptance in life. All those things happen, but the thing about it is that we get judged so quickly by who we are. We don't know. We don't go to where it happened. Life created this person, me. And I had to realize, man, that's okay, man. It's not my fault. Now I gotta go back and fix it though. So a lot of this isn't your fault, why you do some things you do, why you feel the way you feel. But no one's coming back to save your ass. You have to go back to where they started, wherever that place is for everybody, and have the courage to go back there and start fixing what broke you. It's not addictive at all, because you don't want to live there, but it's definitely a place that makes you look at people very differently. Because once you see, if I was born with a silver spoon and everything was given to me and life came easy, but knowing where I came from and where I'm at now, just because I was able to crack open a few more doors, that's what's disappointing for me, for other people. You know, so it's not that I want to live there, I know I can go there. And once again, I know other people can go there. So I guess that's the thing with me, is I know I have the ability now to go to a place that's very, very hyper-focused, that I can accomplish some pretty amazing feats. Not because I'm amazing, because I allowed my mind to be open-minded for the possibilities of what can I achieve. It takes the growth in your mental aspect, in your spiritual, everything grows because you start feeling better about yourself. Not many things on the planet make you feel good about yourself like getting after it, doing something that challenges you mentally and physically every day. You cannot live in that normal mindset. You must be your best on your worst day. And how you do that is you cannot think of a normal mindset. You cannot have a normal mindset. My big takeaway of life is, if you're constantly taking the easy way out, you're never gonna callous your mind. I was a chameleon living in life who could barely get by. So I know that they were taking the normal mindset of people. They weren't talking about the 1%ers, the people who want it like there's no tomorrow. You're alone. You're alone. You may have a shrink you're going to, you may have a best friend you're going to, but there's 24 hours in the day where you're alone in this brain. And your brain is talking to you in all kinds of ways. And it wants to control you and pull you in these different pockets. If you can't control your own brain and your brain controls you, you got to tell your brain where you want to go and how you want to go and how you want to get there. You got to control it. If not, it's over. But guess what happens? That alarm clock goes off at 4 a.m. to train. I don't want to be a SEAL today. Or I don't want to be whatever today. I'll start tomorrow. And that's the usual pattern of people's lives. That's why I talk about clearing out the mind. Until you really want to do something, you're always going to be a talker. You always get run. So I had a hard time learning growing up, but I was very smart when it came to human beings. A genius, because I lived in such hell. I was always studying people. Who can I trust? Who can I not trust? Energy. I got really good with energy. Is this person's energy good? Is it bad? So I became a genius on human beings. So I studied people all the time. Studied all the time. It was the only way for me to move forward. So like a lot of times, if your back is hurting, it may not be your back. It may be something else in your body that's making your back hurt. For me, I'm like, man, why can't I get past this hurdle? So like I said, I'm always examining myself every day. What is it? What is it? Well, there's only one thing you haven't examined yet, and it's going back to the beast, going back to the demon. So when I went back to him, I realized that was the unsolved mystery. Was I had to look that man in the eye one more time. Like how I studied that Navy SEAL talking shit and lying, I got it from this part right here in the book. I went and I didn't see him anymore as this beast. I started doing research on him. Found out that his dad used to beat him really bad. His dad would put him in front of a furnace, open the furnace up with the flames coming out, and put him right in front of it. Have him bare butt naked, and he would whip the shit out of him. And the whole idea of that is if you move, you're gonna get burned. So stay right here and take a beating. So what happened with him, those demons from his father went to my father, and he tried to transfer them over to me. I had to understand who my father was, understand where he came from, understand why were you so brutal to us. I got my answers, took those answers, and made myself better from the answers about him. And so that's why it was necessary for me to go back. I was looking for an apology, so then maybe I could just go be a loser and understand that you f***ed me up.
Why would the apology make you a loser?
It would make me feel vindicated.
Justified.
Yes, like, man, you did this to me. I can go be a loser now.
My failings are okay.
This okay, because you did this. So I was looking for that. And when I went there, I realized, because his voice in here was saying, it's not your dad's fault. And I'm like, nah, man. Because his voice over here always said, it's your dad's fault. His other voice started tuning in, was loud, started getting louder. The more I drove to Buffalo, was saying, you get to face a lot of young man. You got a long journey ahead of you, because you're going to find out that while your dad did a lot of to you, you're going to have to make it on your own. And the voice got louder and louder and louder. And by the time I got to that door, and by the time I was leaving that house, instead of me feeling sorry for myself, I started to do a live autopsy. Because a lot of people, when you die, they figure out why you died. They figure out how you died in the autopsy. But we never do a live autopsy to figure out why we're dying while we are alive. And I was dying. I was living every day, but I was really dead. And so I figured it out. And once I figured it out, I was able to reborn. I was able to be reborn. And break down situations very quickly within some trauma in your life, some devastation in your life, because it's going to come. The devastation, the trauma is going to come, and you can't allow that to become a Jersey barrier. It can't be a Jersey barrier. It has to be something that you can maneuver through very quickly and move forward. That takes a lot of toughness. You don't find yourself in over here. You find yourself on the other end. Like the 100-mile race I was on, I ran it for 24 hours. I found myself on the other end.